Well, my parents, like many children who live here in Dearborn, my parents come from a European heritage. My dad was German and Irish, and my mom was Swedish and Lithuanian. My grandmother on my mom's side came via Scotland. She was actually born in Scotland, although her parents were Lithuanian, and she immigrated here when she was just 3 years old. So I remember my grandmother speaking Lithuanian to my great-grandmother. I know a few Lithuanian phrases that I picked up from them. And my father's father immigrated, and my dad was born in New York City, and they ended up coming here eventually. But what brought them here were similar circumstances to many of the other stories that we hear from residents who are here. My grandfather on my dad's side came to work for the railroad and was a union guy in the railroad, and my dad's first job was working with his own dad on the railroad, and then my dad became a photographer and had his own business and was a videographer. And my mom's parents, as I said, my grandmother came from Lithuania. My grandfather on my mom's side was born in Wisconsin, and he was Swedish. And so he came here to work for Ford Motor Company. He was an engineer, and he was an accomplished violinist. He performed with the Scandinavian Symphony here in Detroit, which back in like the 1940s, 50s was a kind of big deal, and I'm very proud of that musical heritage that I did not inherit for myself, but I'm hoping that my son will continue that tradition because he plays the viola and the piano, and my grandmother played the piano and taught lessons and accompanied numerous groups on the piano. My mother was an artist, my dad was a photographer, as I said, so that's kind of where they came from. My grandmother worked a bit part-time after my mom had grown up, and she worked in an office to supplement their income in addition to playing the piano. So we have kind of that artistic background for my family. We came to Dearborn because my parents wanted to provide an excellent education for my brother and I. So just after I was born, my parents moved out of living with my mom's parents, like many young couples did. They lived with the in-laws for a little bit, and then they came to Dearborn and raised my brother and I here. We went through Dearborn Public Schools. My dad got involved in the neighborhood association, was president of his neighborhood association. He ran for city council many, many years ago. And it fostered in me how important it was. Family was important in our community and giving back to our community and being involved in scouting, in our neighborhood association, utilizing things like our public libraries and public education that are so excellent here in Dearborn. So I'm glad that my parents made Dearborn our home, and I'm proud that I'm able to continue and raise my son here.